Hello and welcome to Arcadia. In this series of videos, Arcadian world building, I share with you some lore from my homebrew world of Arcadia, in hopes that some of it will inspire your own world building efforts while at the same time serving as a repository of lore for the new players at my tables who want to get familiar with the world. This time, I'll talk about the ascended demigod Moghast, the Prince of Steel. It is impossible to talk about Moghast without first talking about the lore. Out of all Arcadian gods, 10 are especially important. They are the original deities, the founding entities who created the universe and embody the most primordial elements which comprise everything. Balor is one of those 10 original deities, the embodiment of metal and war, but also of refinement and transformation. Out of the 10 originals, Balor is one of the most interventive deities, and is responsible for the creation of many lesser deities like Yordun, the absolute judge, god of order and justice, or Haxia, the warbreaker, goddess of peace and reason. One of those descendants, however, is not held in such high regard as the others. In the primordial war after the creation of the world, when the gods fought the Ancient Ones, or Aboleth as they would later be called, legends tell that Balor began the battle by tossing her legendary halberd, Zandragora, across the plains into the material realm, causing a cataclysmic earthquake and annihilating many Ancient Ones. The effort to toss the halberd was so colossal that after the impact, the blood of Balor was still visible on the platinum weapon's shaft. Her blood slid down to the ground, melded with the rock and metal of the earth, and from the bowels of the world emerged Moghast, the Prince of Steel, a demigod of divine essence but earthly body. Moghast fought fearlessly against Ancient Ones alongside the gods, and his ferociousness granted him the fame of an untamable warrior and unyielding general. After the war ended, Balor collected him and brought him to her home plane, the titanic metal halls of Metagoria. There, she focused her efforts in guiding him to find a purpose in a world that moved past war. However, Moghast's thirst for combat and bloodshed was too much. Perhaps because he had the blood of the goddess of war but not her mind, or maybe because he never knew anything but war since his creation, the Prince of Steel could not conceive a purpose beyond everlasting bloodshed and displays of dominance. Despite being the goddess of war, Balor envisioned warfare as a means for conflict resolution and to uncover the strongest ideal through the supremacy of its defenders. Moghast, however, lusted for senseless combat, the reasons on each side a mere annoyance in his eyes that served only to precipitate aggression more quickly. To all effects, Moghast never left the war against the Ancient Ones. The rift between him and his mother grew, and lacking a worthy opponent in Metagoria, it was not long before he tried to attack other deities, sowing chaos across the pantheon. In the end, recognizing her failure, Balor branded him as unworthy and doomed him to the deepest cave underneath Metagoria, where the only escape possible was to tunnel through the root of an entire mountain until reaching the exit. After that, every day Moghast tried to break through the mountain's root with his bare fists, but every night the rock he demolished was reformed, thus trapping him in an endless loop of senseless destruction he seemed to crave so much. And for a long time this punishment, this prison, worked, but the demigod grew angrier and angrier. Desperate to break free, he started to change, his mind started to sharpen. In time, he learned to extend his consciousness across his mother's plane, and that's when he sensed a soul arriving to her mother's plane, an orc by the name of Garth. The Prince of Steel could feel the orc's soul was strong, beyond any mortal soul the demigod had ever met. Her mother, nonetheless, deemed that orc unworthy of joining her empty palace and banished him to the outskirts of Metagoria to join all the other warriors who failed to meet her standards. Moghast intercepted him. He promised he'd help the orc's soul return to his body and grant him power so that the orc could fulfill his vengeance. After which, he'd become the demigod's tool. And so it happened. Garth came back to the material plane in a disgraced state of undeath, and through him, Moghast advanced his agenda, slowly desecrating countless cadavers in the material plane and transforming them into his army of undying soldiers. He called them the soldiers of the eternal war, creatures of dead flesh encased in twisted metal, destined to fight forever alongside Moghast. Over the course of the years, the hordes of undead grew unnoticed, moving in great herds across the most inhospitable places in Arcadia to avoid detection, in search of old battlegrounds where the cadavers of fallen soldiers could be reawakened by Garth to bolster the army's numbers. Finally, the perfect opportunity presented itself to Moghast. When the world broke, the dark tide came, the world changed forever, and the demigod knew his time had come. He instructed Garth to release his armies upon the mortals and spread the fear of Moghast, the demigod of destruction. By that point, the size of the amassed armies was colossal, so much that the attacks affected several continents at the same time. People in opposite sides of the world were suddenly trembling under the blades of the same kind of undead soldier. Moghast became known to all Arcadia, and this divine acknowledgement, either through adoration or through fear, is food for a deity. Food which Moghast devoured, used to attain true godhood and escape his endless prison in Metagoria. This is how Moghast manifested in the mortal realm by the time the dark tide arrived. Many gods descended to the earth to meet him and slay him. They were the ones slayed instead. Over the course of 100 years, Moghast kept increasing his army while murdering any god who thought they could beat him, and the Ancient Ones risen again from the depths from which they ran to. Moghast will take both these enemies. His only desire is that this conflict will never end, for he simply wants to wage war forever. The Prince of Steel is now free, and the entire earth shall tremble beneath his feet. The Prince of Steel was a possible end boss in 2 of my campaigns, which never got to the end. As such, I decided that the threat of the Prince of Steel was not stopped, and he became free. In short, his ascension is what happened when there was no adventurer who dared to stop him. Nowadays, he is still free in the world, and one major final boss anyone playing in Arcadia can still challenge. Now, it's up to the next group of adventurers to defeat him, although he is much harder to fight now. Maybe it'll take 2 groups of adventurers working together, who knows? In the deepest parts of his concept, he's in truth a victim, molded to war in a way so intricate that he could no longer function without it. Obviously, this doesn't excuse his actions, but I am very interested to see what happens when a group of adventurers finds out about his origin and learns he is a cruel victim of the circumstances. How will they react? Will they try to bargain with him? Will they try to convert or save him, to redeem him? Will they just brand him as a lost cause and just slay him? It's always interesting when the final boss has this nuance to it. Nothing is ever black or white in the real world, so why should it be in D&D? And that's all I have to say about the Prince of Steel. If you liked any of these concepts, feel free to borrow them. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. And if you feel curious about Garth, the orc who freed Moghast, he's actually a former PC who died in one of my campaigns and forged a pact with the demigod. What I just shared was the consequence of actual in-game play. He's such an important character in my world that one day I'll have to make a video about him too. When that's out, I'll be sure to leave a link here on my left or down below in the Underdark. Until then, thank you for watching. I'm the first Arcadian, and I can do this all day.